Baldur's Gate 3 is way too good. I agree.
On the surface, Baldur's Gate 3 looks like your average open-world RPG that we've all played a million times already. It's got that generic fantasy music playing in the background to set the mood, the beautiful graphics we've all come to expect from a game like this, and also 1 billion pages of completely unnecessary lore that were probably written by a guy whose only idea of hygiene is pulling up his Wranglers. But the deeper that you look into this world's rich stories and impossibly
this guy's editing style is pretty cool.
That Baldur's Gate 3 has captured
I don't think I've seen these videos.
The games for the last 50 years have not been able to. That's not for lack of trying, though. I mean, over the years, we've had tons of different role-playing games. A lot of them were pretty good, and others were made by Bethesda. I mean, we've had classics like The Witcher 3, Wild Abandonment Issues, Final Fantasy 28, Star Wars Knights of the Old Men who still play this game for some reason, Anime 5, peaked in middle school,
Persona.
the game. I mean, Fallout New Vegas, Dragon Age Inflammation, Garfield, Mass Effect Andromeda, The Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim. I have installed the wrong game. Don't get me wrong, though. I enjoyed all of those games. They each had
remember this
something
place
unique and special to them. What I'm trying to say is that not a single one of them.
This is cool. I don't know you can. Yeah, I remember. This is a hard fight in this area. Oh, this music is so good, man. Oh, the music is so good.
I've got a confession to make. I got hairy balls, okay? It's really bad down there. I mean, my shit looks like the inside of a rainforest cafe. I don't know what to do about it.
Money.
One more time, at man tried to. We'd be here pretty much all day. And look, I got places to be, things to do, video game characters to develop unhealthy relationships with. And so I'm just going to keep it to the things that I think Baldur's Gate 3 gets better than any other game out there. In doing that, I am going to have to spoil some of the game, but I won't spoil it all. The game is broken up into 3 acts, and I'm only going to spoil from Act 1, as well as some of the character stories. But yeah, there are going to be some spoilers. Act 1, though, is just the tip of the iceberg, so if you're comfortable with some of them,
I did not realize how big Act 2 and Act 3 is. That's some stuff I've missed. Now I might have to go back and play after my first playthrough.
If you're looking for a blind experience, get out now, danger, danger zone, get out now, you are in danger. Anyways, yeah. I think the first thing that really sticks out to me that Baldur's Gate 3 gets right is uniqueness, the way it makes you feel unique. Yeah, this is a broomstick from my house. It was supposed to look like a fishing rod. I'm realizing it doesn't. I just look stupid holding it up here. But yeah, unique. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. Who are you? It's a question that this game asks.
What fight? What area? Because I'm sure we did Act 2. I'm sure we did a lot of stuff in Act 2. What fight did you see her doing? I just think you guys have forgotten. That's all.
Over and over and over again throughout it, and the first time it does is here in the character creator. Now, they're not infinite, but there are so many different options for who you can be, how you can shape this character.
Character customization. Amazing. Spent hours doing my character.
To your liking. The only constant that I have found in this character creator is that no matter who you want to be, you are always hot. I tried to make an old wizard, tried to make him look like nasty and old and disgruntled. Hot, sexy, smoldering in my face, Giga Chad old man. He is exactly what you'll never be. It's time to wake up and hit the gym, Sigma male grind set. This dude is shredded with a jawline that could cut diamonds. This guy is 90 years old with erectile dysfunction. Dick down, money up, muscles up, bitches up. You can't make an ugly person in this game. I have made a ridiculous amount of characters in this game. If you're just getting into Baldur's Gate 3, let me tell you right now, most of your time is going to be spent in the character creator, making a character, playing them for a little bit, and then going right back to make another one. A couple of the highlights so far have been Rye Stormheart, a sorcerer looking for knowledge on the world around him and his unknown origin. And then Ryan Fleming, who is a tiny little skinny nerdy wizard boy who loves his big barbarian wife and fears the world. The first thing to choose here is which fantasy race you want to play as, which in itself is a massive system. Like, for example, if you want to play a dragonborn, you get the ability to like spit the elements, and you can pick a sub race for like which element you really like mess with. Not only that, but the race you choose determines so much about how you can interact with this fantasy world.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you chose to be a drow,
it's so good. It's just so detailed. It's so detailed.
some characters might not be as receptive to you. The backgrounds, which can change a lot about how you're playing. If you take the Dark Urge background, for example, it just gives you like really messed up intrusive thoughts. Really early in the game, you'll see this dude's hand coming out of a portal, and there'll be like a voice in the back of your head like, cut off his hand. And that's not even the biggest part of it though. The big thing here, I think, is the classes. You want to be a wizard like Ryan Fleming? Go for it. You cast a bunch of spells. You get a pointy hat. Actually, I just found that hat because I think it fits him. You want to be a barbarian? Completely different play style. There's so many options and subclasses beneath.
Oh yeah.
And if
it
did
again,
sound
customization A1.
complicated enough, you can also multi-class if you want to. So you could be two classes at the same time. There's just so much ability to customize who you want to be. So I want to give you a few examples just to show you how much of a difference the race and class you choose makes in this game. And the first one is this goblin camp that you reach right at the beginning of the game. So if you're playing a human like Ryan Fleming, you're going to show up with these goblins and they are going to obliterate you and roast you over a fire. That's not even a joke. They just roast you over a fire. If you are a drow, like my big scary barbarian wife, they don't touch you. They don't do anything. They just leave you alone. And then you can walk in and strike. The class
I did not know that. I didn't know that. Oh shit.
They each get their own unique dialogues throughout the game, and it doesn't always lead to a different outcome, but sometimes it'll give you an advantage. See, I wanted to find an example where both race and class made a difference at the same time, and there's this conflict at the beginning of the game between druids and tieflings, and I thought it would be interesting because tieflings are a race and druids are a class to show up as a tiefling druid and see what would happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, gems and germs, might I introduce you to Jackie's son? That's right, baby. He was born to rock and he was born to nature or whatever. I don't know what druids do. He's the perfect foil for this situation. So I booted him into the game. I skipped the entire introduction and I ran straight to the grove to get involved in this conflict. At first, walking through, I immediately got this tiefling specific dialogue, which is pretty cool because I got to talk to other tieflings about like tiefling stuff. And then boom, I walked down here. This is where all the conflict was happening, and then I got this dialogue. I'm a druid first and tieflings second. It's literally specific to tiefling druids. That's cool, right? Okay, it doesn't lead to anywhere that different, but it's still so cool that there is a unique dialogue here. And there's also a bunch of unique dialogue when you get further and you talk to this lady who's just trying to kill a kid for some reason. Jackie's son was born to rock, but he was not born to roll, as he failed every single skill check. These things right here, you roll the dice to see if you can pass like the skill DC. He failed every single time. The kid died and he decided to stand his ground because he's Jackie's son. But the lady who was fighting was really strong, and Jackie died. He dead. He's very dead. Rest in rock, Jackie's son. Your influence on rock music will never, ever be forgotten. But yeah, anyway, the systems here are super in-depth. The only complaint I have about them is that they are not as consistent throughout the entire game. Super abundant here at the beginning, but the further you go, they kind of taper off, and the differences between the races you choose don't really come up as much. But still, there's enough here to be so incredibly impressive and make your character feel like your own. Those are some of the many ways that Baldur's Gate 3 makes you feel unique.
I recognize this boat.
In a game like this you're only as unique as the people you keep around you. That's right, I'm talking about the bros, the hoes, and Gale. There are 6 main companions in Baldur's Gate 3. There's a couple more, but these 6 are the main ones. You can actually even play as them. If you want to, you can start the game playing as one of them, or you can meet them along the way. Each one of them has their own unique and deep, interesting stories that you can dive into as you develop a relationship with them over the course of the game. And They are so well written. It is unbelievable. I'll tell you a little bit about each one of them. First up, we've got Astarion. He's a pompous little asshole with some suspicious bite marks on his neck.
I don't really fuck with Astarion
stuff and like lie to
because
people,
of my man.
but I'm sure he's a good guy. And then there's Gale, who, you know, all things considered, he's a nice guy. I mean, he's charming, he's a wizard, but something about him just makes me want to punch him in the face. You know, he's got one of those faces. Every time he talks, I want to punch you in the face, man. I don't like him. And then there's Shadowheart here, who's kind of a mystery. You know, she keeps to herself a lot at first, and for good reason, because there are some things that she's trying to protect and responsibilities she has.
Oh, and also she's a cleric as well, so she's
over
just good
time,
at
you
fights.
learn more things about her. The first thing I learned is that she's scared of dogs. So,
that's your babes.
Yeah, watch out. There's Lae'zel, who a lot of people don't like at first. I like her. You know, she's got that
I like Lae'zel at first.
Exterior, and she can be kind of mean to you, but if you're mean back, well, she might like that. And Karlach, just the silliest,
this is my babes right here.
gal you'll ever meet, standing around, dancing, having a good time, heart of gold. She did have relations with Ryan Fleming's wife, but that's okay, because Ryan's more of a watcher anyway. And afterwards, she takes me shopping for trinkets and items. And lastly, we got Will, who, to sum it up, he got mom.
I didn't really care for Will.
He's a warlock.
In terms of story.
He gets his magical powers from
and maybe because we had a full party, so we couldn't really, you know,
a big, powerful woman.
Get in there. But when I played by myself, I didn't really have Will in my party. I had Karlach, Shadowheart, and Gale in my party. While I was what was I? A monk, I think. A monk, yeah.
Sometimes calls him pup.
No, Minthara. She is a fucking baddie. Oh my god. She's a baddie in both ways.
I mean, it's a lot to unpack there. The game does an amazing job of giving you a connection with each of these characters pretty much right away. You start off the game in one of these little pods where you've just had a
you know, she's a baddie because she's beautiful. She's not a baddie because she's in the evil route. That's why. Don't question about me.
Worm put inside of your brain. You bust out and explore this weird organic matter gross ship, and immediately you find Lae'zel. And it turns out she's got a little wiggler in her brain too, which means both of you need to find a way to get it out. Common interest, boom, bam, bop. Be friends. You guys explore this alien ship together. Eventually you come across Shadowheart, and if you're a real one, you'll notice that this is the exact same tutorial mission as DC Universe Online. I know I'm not the only person who noticed this. It is literally the same thing. Anyways, you fight through a couple of bad guys, you get to the main console, you crash the ship, and then you wind up on a beach. And you get to find all of your buddies just strewn around the beach. But here's the interesting thing, is you don't have to find them. You can walk right past them and go about your merry way. But I really recommend that you do pick them up, because each one of them has their own rich character stories that see them evolving over the course of the game, as well as growing to care for each other and you throughout the playthrough. And if you're nice, they might start to care a little too much, if you know what I mean.
That's another big part of the game is having, you know, relationships and having sex with the characters. That's how you draw an adult audience in, man.
Yeah, all the companions in this game, like, want you. I mean, really want you. Gale is the worst offender by far. That guy can't keep his legs closed to save his life. You can end up dating Gale by accident. You'll just be walking around one day and someone will come up to you and go, "So you and Gale, right?" And you'll be like, "What are you talking about?" And you walk up to Gale and he's like, "Hey, Snookum, sweetie pie, how are you doing?" And you're like, "I want to punch you in the face, Gale." See, that's why I want to punch him in the face. But really, it's all the characters who just are down horrendously for you. There's even a speed run to see how fast you can get in bed with one of the NPCs. It's sub 2 minutes. It is below 2 minutes.
Lae'zel's easy.
And it's Lae'zel. You know, so much for that hard exterior. I guess I'm getting up interior her. Okay. Sorry. It's funny though, because I actually think Lae'zel is one of the best written characters in this game. And a lot of people don't like her, but I think the only way you don't end up liking Lae'zel is if you don't spend the time to get to know her. Lae'zel starts off very rude and abrasive, very to the point and willing to take out anyone to get what she needs. But quickly you learn why she is that way. She's a Githyanki. That race of people is very intense and generally perceived by a lot of people to be terrifying killers. Lae'zel is a fierce warrior who is loyal to her people and the way of life they instilled in her from a young age. I don't want to spoil too much of her story because I think it's incredibly well written and worth experiencing firsthand. So I'll just keep it vague and say there are some revelations that upend her life.
This room is in Act 2.
And question that loyalty that she
Gauntlets.
has to her people. Seeing her inner conflict between life and the loyalties she's always known, or searching for truth in spite of that, is incredibly compelling. And through it all, watching those walls that she's built up around herself break down as she finds new loyalties.
It's a shame I didn't have Lae'zel on that party when I played by myself. 'Cause I didn't know any about this. I know about Karlax and Shadow's story and Gil's story, but not much about Will and Astarion or Lae'zel.
Her growth is natural, it's painful, it's real, and she is just one of the several companions you can get in Baldur's Gate 3, each with their own unique story, each with their own thoughts and ideas on what you're doing throughout the game, and each of them optional. That's really the big thing here, right? Is the staggering amount of choices in Baldur's Gate 3. And just as important, the chances. The game starts off with a simple objective, all right? You got a little wiggler in your head and you got to get it out. But how you go about it, where you go to do it, it's kind of up to you. Well, Rise Stormheart started off pretty simple.
At first, when I played this game, it was kind of difficult for me. Not in terms of difficulty, like how hard the game was, but in terms of getting into the game, because there's just nothing. There was very few things to tell me what to do. And, you know, I come from a line of games where you're told to go here, do this, do that, and get the quest. So this game was completely new to me in terms of, you know, you actually like free roam open world, you know? And there's so many ways of doing a quest. There's so many ways of doing the quest.
Well, he walked up the beach and found these raiders over here who didn't like him very much. Yeah, the chances were not on his side at that time. So he hid in this hole while his friends fought the raiders. But little did he know that there were more raiders down here. And so, yeah. Well, that's okay, because his friends brought him back and everything was perfectly
Village.
fine. Now, Ryan Fleming went straight to the conflict in the grove between the tieflings and the druids and cowered in a bush while his barbarian wife punched somebody in the face. You see, Ryan wanted to help the people in the grove, and to do that, he had to go and find the captured druid Halsin in the Goblin Camp. Halsin was in his bare, wild-shaped form, but Ryan, being the cunning wizard he is, saw right through it. I had to look it up. But Halsin didn't want to leave. He wanted to go and fight all the goblin captains at the camp, and so we went and did that. We beat most of them, and then we beat Halsin by accident, and he died. Just straight up. But luckily, Ryan came prepared with a scroll that allowed him to speak with the dead. And I found it so cool that there was a unique dialogue from Halsin post-death to give me the lead for the next quest I needed to get the Wiggler out of my head. Sometimes I feel like I'm a caveman, and I was born in the wrong generation. You know, I should have been born.
It's like, it feels like there's almost like unlimited ways of playing this game. The amount of YouTube videos I've seen of people like playing this game different ways of how to beat something. You know, I've seen people max out Eldritch Blast. It's just an amazing game. When you have people who can be so creative with the way to end the game, I don't know. I think it's one of my favorite games of all time, Baldur's Gate 3. And you know, it's better with friends. I suggest to you, whoever's watching, get some friends, play Baldur's Gate 3. It's great by itself, but I'm telling you, the amount of fun you have with friends, different.
Back in like 10,000 BC with the other cavemen like me. Because of this, because of my nature, I feel like I should describe this in the best way I know how, which is in meat terms, okay? So imagine it like this. A normal game would cook a steak and give you a steak. You'd eat that steak, it'd be yummy, it'd be good. What Baldur's Gate 3 has done is create an entire cow. Baldur's Gate 3 is the cow. And
you got to figure out how to cook the steak.
They have given you the ability to carve your steak out of it.
Yeah.
And there's still different steaks to carve out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're
It's up
still
to
eating
you.
meat, but you might get a cut that's fattier, or someone else might go in and get one that's heavier, just got more meat on it. It just depends how hungry you are. And that's the beauty of Baldur's Gate 3, is how no two cuts are alike, but they're all meat. This world is deep, it's compelling, it's cooked to a perfect medium rare, and though all journeys might be leading to pretty much the same place, it's still your path to carve out how you get there. But that doesn't necessarily mean you just write a character story and then act it out in the game. No, you tell that story along with the game, because not everything is your choice. Some things are better left to chance. I realize I glossed over it a little bit earlier, so I'm just gonna explain it really quickly. This game works with a D20 dice roll system to determine whether you are successful in your attacks or your skill checks. Depending on how hard the thing you're trying to do is, there's a difficulty number up here that you have to roll a higher number than to win. And you get these different modifiers depending on, who you are and what you can do. But ultimately, you have to get your number higher than that number to win. Some of you may be already familiar with this. Some of you not so much.
This is Act 3. I can't remember what they are. I think they're cancel or something. But this fight, we came in over leveled, just fucking destroyed them.
That's okay, because you're about to be. What truly makes Baldur's Gate 3 so great, in my opinion, is because the foundation that it's built on has existed for almost 50 years now in the form of Doomgris and Dragrenorus.
Yeah,
to
Dungeons
truly
and
understand
Dragons.
this, we have to go back in the beginning. There was a big bang. Dinosaurs showed up, got obliterated, must have been a skill issue. Cavemen discover fire, societies get built, religions get formed. At some point, somebody convinces people that sharks are terrifying and dolphins are sweet, even though sharks are pretty chill. And dolphins would
are
eat a baby if they got
terrorists.
bored. They are
Dolphins
demon
are terrorists of the
creatures. British
sea.
people, French fries, Albert Einstein, Coca-Cola, atomic bomb,
British
Dungeons
people.
and Dragons in 1974. Oh yeah, this was the original RPG, baby. But this wasn't a video game. This is a tabletop RPG. Basically, you and your friends.
Oh, brothers, yeah. I think one of the main thing that made is it introduced a lot of people to Dungeons and Dragons, and the best way you can do it to reach a wide audience is a fucking good game. And I think this game has probably introduced a lot of people into playing real life Dungeons and Dragons, with actual board game, because that's I just think that it's really, really easy way to get in. It eases you in, and then you can go as deep as you want to. And some people might think Dungeons and Dragons is a nerdy shit, and then they play Baldur's Gate like, oh, you know what? Maybe not. Obviously, it's a different vibe when you play it in real life, but I still think it's a good gateway.
Get together. You write your own 1 billion pages of lore for your character, Blorp Spingelding, and then you roll some number rocks and play the imagination game. It's a pretty fun game, and its first edition set the standard for what RPG games would be like from then on. It was the first of many, and as technology evolved, we got computers, so came the first computer RPGs, or CRPG. But of course, at the time, computers were crazy expensive, and nobody really saw the need for them, People weren't logging on to Hotmail just yet. They were inaccessible to the average person, and so they never found a huge audience, and even then, the sales they did have dwindled over time. Now, accessibility is that big word here, okay?
Yes, if that Dungeons and Dragons film, you're completely correct. That would have made so much money. That would have made so much money. It's a shame because that film did. For me personally, I think that film was really good, and I'm sure a lot of people thought it was the same. But it's a shame. You're right. It's a shame they didn't come out around the same time as Baldur's Gate.
Okay. So here's what happened. Japan, they wanted in on the RPG scene, and they were a lot smarter than the Western RPG developers because they made their game, say it with me now, accessible. They put their Japanese RPGs, JRPGs, on consoles. They put it on the Famicom, and so they were accessible to just normal people. But the West, we ain't catch on to that so quick. It took a while for us, but eventually that all changed with the release of Morrowind on the Xbox. I give Bethesda a lot of shit, right? But around this time, it pretty much saved Western RPGs. Morrowind was an RPG that seemed a little more accessible than the others around this time. And once again, it was released on a console that people had. Those weird CRPGs that were extremely confusing and looked like the inside of a toaster just weren't selling hot. So Bethesda wanted to make these games easier for your little monkey brain to digest. And so that is when something I like to call the slopification began. Strategic, thought-provoking, turn-based combat? Slopified. Now just click thing many time until die. Class-based character creation and skill value management? Slopified. Now you're God and you can do anything. Here's the thing. I love some slop. I am a sloppy guy. They call me Joe. I'm so sloppy. The problem is, in RPGs, it went too far. There came a tipping point where we just completely lost what made them special, what D&D brought to the table. And I think that tipping point came with Skyrim. Now think about my journey through Skyrim felt unique.
This is an era-defining game, Skyrim.
Be somebody.
One of the best games of all time.
I was a soldier in the military, while I was also a huge mage at the College of Winterhold, and I was the leader of the Dark Brotherhood and the Thieves Guild and all that stuff. Oh yeah, and also the Dragonborn, like the literal chosen one. I don't know. I mean, it was cool, right? And I enjoyed the game, but when you're everything, you're nothing. It's definitely a bad example, and there really are some awesome RPGs out there. Specifically, the BioWare ones. BioWare really just don't miss in this area. But even with BioWare, I was left wanting something. I was left wanting D&D, you know, the crazy freedom and choice that you get from that game, which is almost impossible to replicate because you have a literal person there writing the game for you as you go. It is tailored to you. And it's that, you know, that's the magic behind Baldur's Gate 3. This game isn't just taking ideas from D&D. It is literally based around the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. It's got the skill checks, it's got the classes, it's got the races. It is canon to the world of Dungeons and Dragons. And people have been trying to do this for over 50 years, trying to bring Dungeons and Dragons into a digital medium. I really feel like Baldur's Gate 3 is the first one that has.
You know what I'd like to see? I think I think this game went massively. It's a massive fucking game. But I think this game, this type of game could go further and bring more people in. If it was like it's like a third person. In same thing, you know, Dungeons and Dragons, same thing. Skill checks, but you know, actually, I don't know how would you do skill checks. I just realized how do you do skill checks in third person, a third person fighting like a third person RPG, like Dragon's Dogma. How would you do that? I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe the Larian way was a good way. I'm just thinking how you do skill checks and all that type of stuff. And I think the turn-based stuff was things that turned people off. Like I know some of my friends were turned off by turn-based until they actually played the game. And you know what? It doesn't matter if it's turn-based. Fucking amazing game.
Truly done it in a way that evokes the same feeling I get from playing D&D. If you like Baldur's Gate 3 and you've never played D&D somehow, I could not recommend it enough. Just go get your group of friends together and try it out. I can honestly say, you know, playing D&D has completely changed my life. Me and my friends have an entire podcast where we do it, and that's honestly the reason I'm able to do this, which I could not be more thankful for. Click this card right here to go watch another one of my videos. I've been filming for like 12 hours, so I'm not about to stand right now.
It's a great video.
Yeah, go watch another
I haven't seen this guy before.
Videos. I love
but
doing
it's a great video.
I hope you love watching them.
Yeah.
And yeah, click it. Thank you for almost 100K. That's crazy. So crazy. But yeah.
He's got 200K now.
Goodbye.
Amazing video. Really good. Like really, really fucking good. I love Baldur's Gate, man. I love it.